Hi, this is Christy with Guidepost Wellness. Welcome back for you return viewers, and welcome to anybody that's new to this channel. We like to talk about anything that has to do with wellness and overall health. Could have a focus on things like autoimmune disorders and chronic health conditions. And what I'm going to do today is we're going to talk about the effects of mindfulness on the body. If you've seen my previous presentation about the effects of stress on the body, then you'll be able to appreciate that this is kind of about the opposite of that and taking control of your stress, because stress and how you handle stress is definitely one of the foundations to good health. So let's go ahead and get started. So when we talk about what mindfulness is, it is actually thinking about being in a calm, relaxed state and being only present right now, thinking about what's going on right now and not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future. You are just living in the moment, going with the flow. And what it does that's so important, and why I talk about it in the opposite of stress, is because it actually is a way to engage the parasympathetic or the calm down or the rest and digest mode in your body. So we can actually take control of our physiological response. And I've had some articles, and I'll put some links below, talking about the vagus nerve and how deep breathing actually really can calm you down. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So I love this picture because it really is interesting. Is your mind full of things, or are you being mindful? And I like the picture too because it shows that the younger person, the child, is just in the moment, looking at the beautiful sunshine, looking at the flowers, whereas the adult that's with them is, thinking about everything else, paying the bills, what's coming next, what are we going to have for dinner, what do I have to get at the grocery store, on and on and on and on. And that can be really challenging to get from a state of mindfulness to mindfulness. I completely get that. But it's important to understand that it really is helpful to the body. There are so many studies that have been done that show that by being mindful and pulling yourself back into the present, not focusing on the past, not focusing on the future, focusing on your breathing and calming yourself down, calms the body, decreases all those stress responses, and decreases the anxiety and the mental stress responses. It allows you to work through the emotions more quickly, and it is really important for chronic pain. That's how I really discovered it was when I was diagnosed with my lupus. So some of the basic mindfulness activities. I know the first time I tried to meditate was just a disaster because my mind was full and I thought I was a failure because I couldn't sit there and just focus on my breathing. No, these are practices, and there is no right or wrong way to do it. But some of the ways to get started that are a little bit easier are to focus on your breathing. That's one of the things that we, in a stress state, start to breathe very shallowly, and we forget how to breathe and take in deep breaths. And so I would challenge you to put your hand on your stomach right now and feel how you breathe. Are you even moving your lower stomach at all, or is it just panting up here in your chest? So try to focus on your breathing. I've got some videos on that. I'll put the links down below. That's one thing to start, and that can be a basic mindful activity that I've done with some of my clients just to get them started of how to breathe correctly and to deep breathe 10 deep breaths in a row. And that can be a start. Doing a body scan. This is a fun one to do, where you literally lay down and you can start with the top of your head or your feet, and you visit each part of your body and notice it, because if we had all of our senses turned on all the time, we would get really overwhelmed. So if you think about when was the last time you thought about what your hair or your scalp was feeling like? I mean, do you think about that often? But maybe you're sitting there right now and you can feel sweat beading on your scalp, or if you're outside watching this, you can feel the heat on your head. And that can be a really great introduction to a mindful activity where you go through and you scan all the parts of your body, and you start at the top and you go down to the bottom. When was the last time you thought about what your feet were feeling? Sometimes we just don't, but you take a few seconds and you consciously focus on each part of your body, and then you focus on relaxing it. So again, nothing real formal has to be done here, but take the time to get back in touch with your body. Mindful seeing. I like doing this one. This is kind of almost like the child's game of I Spy. You can literally just sit quietly and look at everything in the room that's around you, and really notice the details. Notice the shadows, the light. Looking out the window, notice the birds that are chirping, or the color of the cars that are going by. The 5 senses exercise, I really like doing this one because you focus on, for example, smelling a rose or smelling a flower, or if somebody just made something, baked something in the kitchen, something that you could literally do your 5 senses with, or you can just do your 5 senses lying, for example, like the lady in the image is just lying on the floor, but you focus on each sense individually so that you can give some time to it. And all that's doing is taking your mind out of the future and out of the past. Now, I tell you, you're going to have thoughts go through your mind. Even when I do some of my meditations that are brain entrainment, that are actually taking my brain into different brain waves, I still have thoughts go through my mind. So I tell my clients, think of it just like you're shooing a fly. So you take the thought, you don't judge it, you don't worry about it, you just say, later. I'm doing something else right now. I'll think about you later. I'll think about you later. And just kind of shoo it away. The thoughts are going to be there, but just kind of let them flow through and move on, and then bring yourself back to the exercise that you're doing. Meditation to me is like sometimes it can be a little bit more of a step up as a form of mindfulness. I find meditation more challenging because I don't have something to focus inward on as much. That's why for me, a lot of times I like to do the guided meditations, or at least even nature sound meditations where I can kind of use my senses and my imagination to put myself in that location. But doing mantra meditations, Chopra I think has some Om meditations that are out there and things of that nature. They can just be more challenging. Even just an open meditation of just sitting quietly and trying to empty your mind, to me, is very, very, very hard for me to do. So that's why I focus on other forms of mindfulness, which is doing things in a mindful way. But meditation apps are great, guided meditations. I have some on the channel, and I love the Zen 12 program, and I'll put some links for those videos below if you're interested. The other thing about being mindful is you can do so many physical activities in a mindful way. It just means you're focused on it. Have you ever met somebody, maybe they're a musician or they're an artist, or even if they're exercising or doing something and they are just so focused on what they're doing, that's being mindful. So you can walk, you can hike. Again, you may have those thoughts that are going through your mind, but you just kind of shoo them off. Dancing is a great way because you're not thinking about anything else but dancing. Yoga, Qigong, Tai Chi, those help you because you're focusing on the movement of your body and your breath. And until you become very, very good at these types of exercises, it may be harder for you to have other thoughts intrude. So that's why they can be very mindful. Eating can definitely be a mindful activity. How many times do you eat and you don't even remember what it tasted like? what a shame. So eating mindfully can be great. Obviously, being intimate with someone on whatever level means being so focused just on them. You're not worried about doing the laundry or putting out the trash. You're just worrying about being with your partner. But any activity, even a chore, doing your dishes can be a mindful activity. Driving should be a mindful activity. I think, unfortunately, we do spend a lot of time with our minds wandering while we drive. But any activity, again, that you are focused intently on that activity and you are not in a remember the past or worry about the future type of mode, and you're focused right here and you're calm and you're intently doing your activity, is mindful and is in the parasympathetic state and is healthy for the body. So the key things are to start simple. There is no right or wrong way to be mindful. Just think of reeling yourself back in, or if you find if your mind's going out, then just focus back. That's why when people start, I encourage them to use something a little bit more guided, or something that allows them to count or focus to help bring them back if their mind starts to wander. Try different activities until you find out what works for you, and then do a variety of them. As I mentioned in my mindfulness challenge, try even just 2 or 5 minutes of mindfulness a day. And it literally can be as simple as take your cup of coffee and do your 5 senses while you're drinking your coffee. Maybe if you have a deck, you like to sit outside or by a window and take 5 minutes and focus and use your senses and smell your coffee, taste your coffee or your tea, see the squirrels or the birds, see what's going on outside, just for 5 minutes. And try to stack it with another habit that already exists. That's why I use the example of drinking your coffee. If that's like a sacred time that you have a couple minutes at the start of your day to have your coffee, then add in some mindfulness with that as well. Instead of planning your day while you're drinking your coffee, focus on right now and being mindful and help decrease that stress level. There are so many wonderful apps out there. There really are. And biofeedback, things like HeartMath. HeartMath is a program that I want to look into. Their science and the research behind it is phenomenal. And they really focus on how decreasing stress helps improve the body overall. And that's where that biofeedback can help. Even the example that I talked about with Gary and the stress response, he took his blood pressure while he was angry, and then he did a mindfulness activity and took his blood pressure again and saw the effect on his blood pressure. That's very similar to doing a biofeedback type of example. And try to find some folks that you can meet up with. There are a lot of online programs. Mind Valley Academy has a lot of great programs where you can learn about meditation. Get an accountability partner, somebody to be with you. Start a challenge. I'll put the link for my mindfulness challenge down below. Or maybe just get a health coach or somebody to help take a look at your life and help you find ways to incorporate mindfulness, because the science is there. The studies really show that the more mindful that we can be and the calmer we can be, it will help us when we are in those moments of stress. So I love that picture, just looking out over the ocean. So I'll leave you with that. Be well.